gathered, I'm Hobo Clay, and as you probably gathered, I'm an old fart. Now, usually when you talk to old farts, you like to ask them, give you a little hint on some of life's lessons. And when old farts talk, they always like to tell you their life story. Well, we're going to do the condensed version here. Now, when I was young, you know, every family that has boys has their own word for your penis. You know, they don't like kids running around saying that word all the time. You know, sometimes it's your winky, sometimes it's your willy, you know. Well, in my family, it was your bird. And it was a long time before I realized that a bird in the hand was not as good as a bird in the bush. Okay, we got the condensed life story going on. Now, in my teenage years, we were all bopping along listening to Allman Brothers and Zeppelin on a local radio station. All of a sudden, they changed to an all-disco format. And that's the first time that I ever heard the word sucks. It was attached to disco, and every time anybody would say the word disco, somebody would yell, sucks! You know? Well, that come back and bit me later on. I was out at the Legion, this little festival they were having, and they had big time wrestling there. It was put on by the high school and college kids, you know. And these kids in front of me were, these 9 and 10-year-old kids were heckling the wrestlers. You know, and I kind of got into the mood. I mean, I can't blame it on a 10-year-old what I said, but, well, here comes this high school girl, and they announced that her wrestling name is Disco. And before I could think, I yelled out at the top of my lungs, sucks! Everything got quiet. You know, I had just insulted all of her family and friends that were standing around there. I said, kids, we'll go up over there. I have my 4 and 7-year-old grandson with me, grandkids with me, and I said, well, we'll go up and get that snow cone that I wouldn't let you have before we snuck up over the hill. Well, now here's where we have to skip a spot to condense this. Like the early 70s and, I mean, late 70s and early 80s, I'm really not legally allowed to tell about much. Just suffice it to say, if it's a condensed version, you just add a whole lot of LSD and shake it up and you'll get the full story. I ain't got much of a, yeah, okay. All right, I don't care. I'm going to tell you about my t-shirt anyway. I got a favorite t-shirt. It says Big Easy in big letters, and in little letters it says New Orleans, you know. I was out in the bar, and this girl comes up to me and says, well, what's this Big Easy all about? And I whispered in her ear, because I'm big and I'm easy. Well, one thing led to another. Went home with her, and then the next morning she says, well, honey, I hate to tell you, yeah, you're easy, but you ain't big. So that's false advertising. I said, well, then sue me, you know. Could you imagine the trial? First they'd have to establish what big is, so they'd have to bring in a stripper and measure all the male jurors to see what's big and what's average. And she pipes up and says, you'd probably get a hung jury, then you'd just be screwed. All right, we're about up to the future of old farts, and I've got my plan. When I turn 65, I'm going to Vegas. You know, they've, with these new drugs, Viagra, they even have a name for a boner that lasts more than 4 hours. They call it priapism. It has a medical name. So my plan is I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to sit up in the hotel room and take my Viagra and dial 911, and they'll just send 2 hookers up to the room and charge it straight to Medicare. So, okay, you've got your 3 lessons in life now. One of them is that a bird in the hand is not as good as a bird in the bush. The second is disco sucks. And the third is have sex with old farts. Yes. What we lack in virility, we make up in experience, Viagra, and insight. It's a brave new world out there for old farts. Okay.